Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode. Did you ever have one of those conversations where you sat down with somebody and you chatted with them for a bit and you actually ended up being better friends when you got done with the conversation than when you started? That's how I kind of felt this episode went. I had a chance to sit down with Aga Dondzik and Danny Tompkins, who own Bad Grease, a company here in Chicago. They say that they're a lifestyle brand. They make apparel, they make hair products, they have a skateboard team. Anyway, we had a really good conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
It's time for Gentlemen in Moderation.
It's a dead man's body. Who could ask for more? Everybody's coming. Leave your body at the door. Leave your body and soul at the door.
Don't cup the mic.
Okay, so we are live. I'm here with Aga and Danny, and we're going to talk a little bit. So this is Gentlemen in Moderation, and I'm going to just start out a little bit with, I like telling everybody how I kind of met you guys and so forth. And so I'm kind of paraphrasing here because I sort of remember, but I sort of don't. But it was like, you had contacted me via LinkedIn about a website.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't remember or not, but I think I might have liked Rock, Razor, Scissors even before we met.
Yeah.
Because what had happened was, it was like on Facebook or something, I was being fed stuff and I was looking through or MySpace or something.
Yeah, I went back that far.
Yeah. so that's how, and then from there, we worked on the website.
Yeah.
But the thing that I will say is, I'm throwing it out here, if you don't know who Aga is, then you can just look her up, because one of the things that stood out to me was I had seen stuff around Chicago. I had seen art and hair and a lot of, say, I'm just going to speak generically here, but a lot of like the beauty salons or the things that I had seen, everything was flatlined. Everything was the same. And I remember looking at the Rock, Razor, Scissors site and being like, holy cow, people are not cutting hair like this and doing stuff like this elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit more about that.
So this is back in 2008. And yeah, even like all these bright colors, like people did Manic Panic, and there was definitely stuff at Hot Topic. But when I started the salon, there wasn't anything like that I felt like I could go to. Like when I was like in high school, it was the place I wished existed. And so, I wanted like a cool vibe, like a rock and roll salon that we did all the things, that were crazy hair, which now in 2018, like a decade later, it's normal. All that stuff that we did, every hairstylist does it, which, back then, if I knew, that was kind of the beginnings of but I think there was other cities probably that were picking up that same thing that we were doing maybe, and now it's huge. But yeah, all the crazy colors, all the things. We had people coming from like Michigan, like we had clients like different states that would come just because they wanted some funky hair. So it was cool, yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
Match.com. Do they get like a
sponsorship?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, but we did. We met on Match.com. I was touring, and I was like, the girl I work for was like, you should just go on the dating site. I was like, I'll never meet anybody because, I'm on tour all the time, so there's no chance that I would meet somebody. And then she's like, sign up. I was like, no. And then I went on there and I saw Danny, and I was like, he's cute. Maybe I should sign up, because you don't have to pay yet when you lurk. And then, so then I signed up just for him, and then he was the guy. And that's my guy. I kept him.
That's how they get you. They send you these emails, and then you fill it out, and then they say, and you don't pay money because no one wants to pay money at first. And they're like, all these girls want to meet you, and they send you a couple pictures. You're like, man, I don't want to pay. And then they're like, but all these girls want to meet me. And then eventually you just give in and pay the $30, which I was lucky, obviously. But it's pretty.
Thanks.
I was,
yeah,
I
he's
remember
lucky.
like
That's
yesterday.
right.
I was eating a sandwich for lunch, sitting there bored, looking at my phone, and I was like, all right, you're getting my $30. There we go.
I was cheap, $30.
Worth the investment.
So, obviously we know now, and well, if everybody could look up online and find Bad Grease, but can you talk to me a little bit about before Bad Grease? Like, what were you doing? What are you doing, as the culmination coming up to?
To do it in general, or
Yeah, or just like, what do you do? You know, what was your existing career or things that you were doing before, as you evolved into Bad Grease?
Well, it's one of those things I've always been doing sales like my whole life, primarily with everything I did, and it's one of those things you kind of eventually just want to do your own dream and do something for you and something you're interested in doing, and I think that's just kind of started. Lots of people put it off and one day, and I think I finally met the right person where we're like, why wait for one day? Let's just do it, and that's how it started.
Do you think all your experiences that you had, because Aga, you've gone on tour with musicians and you've met a bunch of people and all these things, do you think your culmination of experiences has played a role in Bad Grease? And because I have to say personally, like, I've seen people try to start companies, and I have not seen like the growth and expand. Like I looked at the site, I think when you first maybe had 2 products or something on there, and now it's like it's just grown.
Yeah, we're definitely like crazy. No, but I think that's kind of the thing. It was like I was business minded and he was business minded, and we were both like, let's do this. And then when we did it from the beginning, we were like, we're gonna do it 100%. It's not gonna be like, you know what I mean? It was one of those things where we're like, let's go all out and put everything we have into this, like emotionally, in every way. Like, let's make it pro, and then that was kind of that. And he knew a lot of people and I knew a lot of people, and we have a lot of really good friends, so we're like, I think like people will have our back and help us make this happen. And yeah, so it was definitely like like both of us being like, let's go all in,
And I think that's the big thing, is that it's the fact we're not trying to do it to become to make a whole bunch of money. We're doing it because we love it. We like the people we work with, and I think that's why it's kind of organically growing on its own, just because I feel like we try to do the right thing and try to make it a cool, positive thing for everyone that's involved in any way.
Yeah.
And I think people can tell that that's the case, and I think that's why people want to get involved and help out, and why it's such a good, positive
Yeah,
thing.
we have a
Like
lot of
everybody.
good pals helping us, so it's not just like it's kind of awesome. I think a lot of people believe in us and are like, we're gonna help out, and that's rad. Even you coming out and being like, let's do it means a lot to us, that like everybody's like, we got your back, make it happen. And yeah.
What are some things that you've learned or that you've seen since the beginning of the company? Have you had some experiences or some things where you're like, well, we need to tweak this or do that? Or is it something where it's like, no, because it's passion and because you're going and doing it the way you want to, it's been pretty smooth?
It's been pretty smooth because it's been like, I mean, we're just doing a little at a time, and we've learned things, obviously, like, we're like, oh, this is how this works, or this is how this works. But in general, I think we were finally old enough when we did this, that we did have a lot of like life experiences to be like, oh, we can't make that mistake, or we can't do that. But we definitely learned. We've already learned, like, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't learn. We made some, yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, but I think we both gamble. We're like, let's make it happen. Like, and we're just like throw things out there and throw ideas out there. And then like, honestly, a lot of what Bad Grease is started with like a certain idea. So, okay, when we started, let's take it back to the beginning. I was like, I want to do a pomade one day. And Danny's like, yeah, I definitely want to have like my own company one day too. So this is like when we met on Match.com. Just kidding. No, but like that early on, almost like we were like, oh, let's like, that's something that I have a passion for. And he's like, me too. I was like, awesome. Like I'm going to marry you. And then, no. And then, I was like, I always wanted to do a pomade. I'm like, maybe we could do our own company, because we both ride motorcycles. So that's kind of the company is like motorcycles, skateboarding, kind of just like a lifestyle brand. And we kind of just are like, let's do everything we love and put it in a company and do our thing, And so it kind of started like that. We were like, let's do some biker stuff. Because we're artists. We're like, let's have artists like so, you know, let's pay artists to do cool art and like get just different people involved that are rad and like all just do this cool thing. And then the pomade actually took forever, like over a year and a half. So that just finally finished. But funny enough, in that year and a half, I mean, we have a whole skate team. What else, Danny? I don't know. What else do we have?
I can't keep
Shirts.
track. Shirts, leather goods.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like we add on things as we go. Like I'm gonna do leather stuff, and then I'm like, just hand making leather stuff. I don't know.
So talk to me a little bit about skateboarding. Do you guys skateboard or have skateboarded?
Yeah,
Yourself?
I mean, I think both of us, just in general, I think growing up in this area, the time when we did, I mean, everyone skateboarded. It's just what you did, and it was, I'm getting a little older now, so it's definitely probably less, and I try to make an effort to get out more and more. But it just started from when I was 10 years old on up. I loved it. I loved everything about it. So we started this company, and we weren't sure what we were going to do. And one day I was just like, hey, I want to do skateboards. And, she was like, sure, go for it. And it's just one of those things, it just kind of took on legs of its own, and it is where it is. And I think we never set out to be doing as much as we did with skateboarding, but it's definitely become a big part of who we are and what we do. And it's, I got the experience to work with a lot of, guys that I grew up watching skate, like Dwayne Peters, working with him, a lot of great Chicago skaters, work with a lot of, great skate artists like Jimbo Phillips that I grew up, with his graphics hanging on my bedroom wall. So it's, it's real exciting for me, and I'm really glad to be a part of being able to do this. It's crazy.
The artists that we work with, I think that's one of the coolest things. Like, there's this guy named Boss Dog. He's so rad. Like, definitely check out his art. And he does like a lot of art for us. And there's just like so many rad dudes. We have a pal named Hari in Indonesia that does art for us. A guy named Josh Nail in, where is Josh? Oh my gosh, he's gonna kill me. I don't even right now on the spot. I don't know. But yeah, like there's Donnie. There's a lot of cool dudes that have done some art for us that, like, man, they're such good artists, and it's like it feels so good to be like they did art for our stuff. Like, it's cool. Yeah.
And as I'm seeing, like, as I looked at the boards and everything, it kind of took me back a bit. And I'm gonna, because I'm so vague on this and so not educated on this, I'm gonna ruin this. But essentially, like, I remember boards in like the 80s, and there were some decks that are like classic art now.
Yeah.
I mean, that people are like collector's items because they were boards that were out and had the art all over them. And so it was interesting as I saw your decks kind of coming out. I was like, oh, this is interesting because it's such a variety of art, and obviously it's expanded too, with you guys adding artists and everything. So it's kind of neat to kind of have that, reminiscing a bit about, remembering the boards that I saw, and even some of the big, like, the other thing that I wanted to bring up about skateboarding, the reason why I wanted to ask you about it is because I never did it. And I was trying to think about last week. I was driving, and I'm like, why did I never do it? And I was like, and I'm like, probably self-preservation. Because
I'm smart. This sounds dangerous.
No,
why would anybody do this? It is dangerous. It's so,
It is.
you can get really hurt. Yeah.
So it's a side story off of that. This is probably now 5 years ago. But my brother skateboarded.
Yeah.
And he was like, one day he was like, I'm gonna go try and do this again. It was so awful. And it was, I felt bad because he was doing like ollies and stuff. And then I'm like, let's go to like a half pipe. And then we did that, and he did it. He made the half pipes. Then we went to another place where they had like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Totally wiped out. Like, kept falling, and I think I have video of him landing on his hips like so many times trying to drop in on it. And so I guess my thing about that is I was like, these are some of the good times that you remember, you know, as a kid, and your experiences, and obviously with getting older, you try to still do those things, but the main question that I want to ask, that I was thinking about, that I want to ask you guys about is, do you think there's an element of pain that's tied to skateboarding? Because you're gonna crash, right? You're gonna hit something, and so do you think there's a something about it that's tied to skateboarding?
Like tattooing, where you like cause pain to yourself, or like I'm going to go do this and it's going to suck like that.
Or the reward,
Or the
right?
reward,
You know,
yeah,
you try
yeah.
something and you go out there and it's a
Yeah.
risk, but you know there's that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
I'm going to let
Thanks.
Denny
No,
take this.
No.
think you know what? No, I don't. I think it feels real good to land a trick or pull off something you've been trying to do for a really long time. Yeah, hurting yourself sucks. It's
Denny's like on the
like, there's
concussion.
no
He's
joy.
like,
I
couldn't
bet-
see for 3 days from skateboarding before.
I've hit my head, so I lost my vision for the day because I hit my optic nerve.
I like how you turned it from a day to
Yeah,
3. It was like a month you couldn't see. And I'm just
like
kidding.
half a day. You know, broken bones, concussions. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. I know a lot of skaters, even some pro skaters, that all it takes is like one big injury and they're kind of done. And it's not because they can't. It's because once you hurt yourself really bad, you kind of like lose the will to do it. And there's a lot of guys that's happened to. I mean, I don't do anywhere near what I used to. And I still remember I knocked my head open on a rail and I didn't know who or where I was for like 5 minutes. And it's kind of ends. I know a lot of guys with the same story. So I think I think once you hurt yourself really bad, it's like in most cases, not all, it's a wrap. I know definitely have some people that definitely hurt themselves really bad that still do it, but I think the vast majority of people, I think it's being just the determination of being able to land that trick you've been working on for so long and the feeling you get when you do it. I think that's what really drives people to progress and to continue to do it. You know?
So this is again a naive observation, but I'm going to throw it out there because I'm gathering opinions. That's what I'm doing here. I tend to notice, or at least I thought, that when brands get involved with skateboards, sometimes they transition over to surfing.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if Bad Grease would ever do surfing, or is that...
In the Midwest, I think it's very. I think it's a
You're in
little.
all you had to say was
Chicago.
that.
It's negative 12 right now.
You know, we work with some surfers. One of our artists is a surfer.
We've gone
We've
surfing.
surfed. We enjoy it.
I also have a dent in my leg from it.
Yeah, we've also been very. You think it's safe? Okay, so
Yeah, I guess you could say... Yeah, dude, that's a
surfing
good
is
topic.
safer than skateboarding, and you'll get less injured because it's
Oh,
water.
no.
But it's not true. She's
Oh
got
my
a dent in her
God.
leg. I got
Stop.
a nasty
From 2 years ago.
nasty coral scar in my shin
Yeah,
where it was just
from
carved out.
surfing.
So yeah, it's. But no, I mean.
Yeah, you could drown. You can drown. There's also that. Like
I think
maybe
so.
a shark. There could be a shark.
Maybe one day. I mean, it's definitely not ruled out. I mean, it's definitely something that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a similar culture, obviously, to what we do, and a lot of the people we work with, and that we hang.
It's our
with are
retirement
into
plan.
it.
We're gonna turn Bad Grease into surfing. We're just gonna move to Hawaii, and it's gonna be great. Just so you guys know.
So maybe.
So this would be a good time to transition over to the show that you guys have coming up.
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time on skateboarding now. Let's
Yeah.
transition to motorcycles a little bit.
All right.
All right. So tell me about the show that you guys...
So, yeah, like March 25th, we are doing a motorcycle show at Brower House. So the original Brower House opened a giant venue next door, and we're gonna do an indoor motorcycle show. We have over 30 bikes, like custom bikes, and we have bands coming. We're gonna do some skate stuff, and we're really, really excited about it. We have a lot of rad people that are gonna be part of it, and I don't know. Anything you want to add, Danny?
No, I think you about covered it.
Yeah.
It's the first time doing anything like this. So
Yeah.
it's going to be spectacular. It's either going to be spectacular awesome, or it's going to be like a spectacular disaster. Either way, it
Yeah,
should be.
you should be there because
it's-
it might be terrible and it might be worth seeing too. Like no, but yeah, I'm really excited because I've never done anything like this, and I'm crazy, so I love new adventures and like all the things. Throw anything at me, I'm like, let's do it. And it was kind of like that with this. We always were gonna do like a Bad Grease event where we invite all our friends, we all have drinks at the bar, like take over, and we always talked about doing it at Brower House, the original one. And then, like a year passes and then it's like year 2 and you're like, yeah, we still have never done that and we should. And then they opened up that venue and I went there for something and I was like, oh my God, like we should definitely do a motorcycle show in this place. It's huge, so it's gonna be rad. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I think it's just, a lot of people getting together that are into bikes and skateboarding, and just all of our friends that want to come out and just mingle. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I've turned my brother-in-law onto it. My brother-in-law is a mechanic, and you may or may not have seen on my posts, but some of the posts that I put up are like some of the cars that he did. He has a 57 Chevy black, and then my nephew is really into cars. And what I wanted to also bring up too is I've noticed a younger culture really clinging to, you know, the older cars and the lifestyle. I mean, I could, if he wasn't normally dressed, my nephew would be like rockabilly.
Yeah.
Like he loves going to the car shows and all that. So that's the other thing I guess I wanted to bring up is, have you noticed there's a whole culture of people who just
Absolutely.
love the cars and love the lifestyle and everything.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing is like they're all kind of, they're into the same kind of thing, whether it's motorcycles or old cars or whatever. It's all kinds of people that just kind of like classic stuff, or like I don't know, like people that like, it's kind of DIY in a way too, you know. So everybody's kind of working on their thing, and it's being creative, and whether it's cars, which we both also have cars and work on cars, which isn't, we have some car stuff with Bad Grease too, but I guess that's not as much of something that we focus. I mean, I don't know why we don't focus on that as much. What do you say?
I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, like we both also do the car thing. So we go to car shows, and we, you know, we also like set our booth up at like bike shows and things like that. So yeah, I think it's all like the same world, and it's kind of rad, like you mentioned, that these younger people that are like in their early 20s right now are like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I remember being the person in my early 20s being like, oh my God, that's so cool. Or like, yeah, I remember being a teenager and wanting old cars, and my parents being like, what are you going to do with that thing? And I was like, please. And now the cars I wanted then would be worth so much more money if I bought them like I would have bought them for nothing, and my parents didn't help me. And now, so now I have to buy all these cars myself.
Well, and what's nice about it too is that there's this appreciation. You know, you would think everybody could turn digital and turn, you know, this way and just get I don't know, cleaner and more sterile, but there's an audience out there that is still, you know, loving the smell of gasoline and you know, all this kind of stuff. So it's definitely worth talking about and kind of bringing up. So
Yeah, I love the smell of Bondo.
So I guess talk to me about your guys' bikes. You guys both have bikes and you ride?
Yeah, except for now, 'cause it's the middle of. Thanks for bringing up such a.
Yeah, I know. I'm
We're
like, I'm
trying
on a
every
bad
night.
path. I'm bringing up surfing and
Oh man, yeah.
You know, I guess we both have our riders and then our project bikes. You know, so we both have. I have a Dyna Street Bob that starts every day, and then I have my Triumph Chopper, which never wants to start ever. And then Aga here's got the Sportster, and then a Yamaha XS 650 chopper that once again doesn't want to start half the time. So you know, you gotta have one of each. You have to have your cool little bar hopper, and then your bike that can actually get on and go.
Yeah, but we had like 6 bikes here at one point, so we did good. We sold 2 bikes, which at some point I was like, I'm gonna be the crazy cat lady of motorcycles, and then I was like, oh my God, this is probably a problem. And I had to like let go, and Danny sold another one, and we're like, okay, we're good. We're down to just 2 old cars, 2 new cars, 2 new bikes, 2 old bikes. I think we're good. And then 4 children. It's fine.
We don't have a garage for any.
We have a giant shed.
Yeah, we have a giant shed.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
no
so
garage.
we do all the work outside, like, yeah, it's pretty hardcore. We're pretty tough, you know. No, I'm just
We
kidding.
get dirty looks from the neighbors.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So what would you say, again, this is me being naive, what would you say is the biggest difference for somebody riding a bike like you guys have versus like, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of differences, but like, as an example, years ago, I had a crotch rocket, like
Yeah.
a Honda, you know, motorcycle. And so
Yeah.
what would be your advice, or if somebody were to want to go and say, oh, I've either not ridden at all or I've ridden a newer bike?
I think, like, if you ride, man. It's honestly, like, I was even talking about this, like, with scooters, like, like, you know what? You're still in the wind and you're doing your thing. Just as long as you're happy, who cares what you're riding? Like, enjoy yourself. And that feeling, it doesn't matter what you're on. Just do your thing. You know, I don't think it's like, it shouldn't be like a fashion show, you know, about like what, just do, you know, I think when I see people on a bike, I'm like, good. Like that feeling is the best feeling in the world. And whatever way you want to feel, or like, obviously it's different cultures. Yeah. Like I love my old bikes because I like that they break and I have to fix them almost like, and Danny's like, oh, your bikes are a pain in my butt because he has to teach me and like do a lot of the work. But so like, you know, which Hondas are great bikes. So if you had like a crotch rocket and you had fun, who cares, you know? Like, I'm trying to win a crotch rockety type. Well, it's not. It's a Honda. And I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll win it. It's like online. I'm like, I would totally ride that thing. It's like brand new. It's probably so comfortable and super fun. I don't know what kind of bike it is. It's not a crotch rocket. It looks more like a dirt bike version of a bike. But still, like, it's not the bike I'd ride normally, but I'm sure it'd be fun. So I think like that's rad. I didn't even know you ever rode.
My quick side story about it was one evening I took it out. I came home from work and I was like, I'm just going to take it out, just cruise, you know, like kind of unwind a little bit. And I'm coming up to an intersection, and what I remembered was that when you're coming up to an intersection, you got to be careful, right? Because cars turning left, they don't see your headlight.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm coming up to the intersection, and as I get to the middle of the intersection, there was this big boat of a car turns in front of me. And I'm like,
yeah,
this is
that's
it.
terrifying.
And you kind of like push back on it, and no helmet on. So I was like, if this is I'm done.
Yeah.
But for some unknown reason, I held on to the bike.
Yeah.
And it pulled through. Like, I give all the credit to Honda for making an amazing
All right,
motorcycle
Honda.
that can
Sponsor
brake
us.
fast and do all that. So the funny part of there's two funny parts, if there is any humor in it. Well, number one, I survived, which was great. And then as the car went past me, the bike literally like went sideways a little bit, but then stable out, and I got to the next light. So I got to the next light, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Your
that's
mind's like
scary.
overload. And these two girls pull up next to me, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, I was so mad at myself.
He
I'm like, I
showed
didn't even
himself
play
shaking,
it cool.
just in case you guys didn't know. He just showed himself terrified.
I was like, I should have been like, that's how I live every day.
Yeah. I live on the edge.
So, but the second part of that story was then on the weekend, because this was on a Thursday, I went to like brunch with my family. And my aunt was like, oh my God, I thought of you. I was at this intersection and I saw this guy go through, and I was like, he had no helmet. I'm like, that was me.
Oh my God,
Like,
your aunt's
you almost
like,
just watched your nephew die.
That's terrifying. No, I have to say, because we ride together. Oh my gosh, there's so many times where I'm like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? Because I see people like almost run him over or run me, and I'm like, come on, man, be careful with. And yeah, I think that people don't realize this is the number one thing. Like, we can't stop like how cars can stop. So like, if you do something crazy in
Yeah,
front
we
of
could
us,
stop sweet and skid out sideways.
yeah,
like,
yeah. But I think people
Like
are
you
like,
did.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, we're not everybody's Terry, all right? Like, we can't all be super badass. And also, I'd like to say, like, I mean, our bikes are like more, you know, it's not crotch rockets go so fast. Like, I think I'd be scared, to be honest. I mean, I've never actually been on one, but I think like going that fast, when I see people like on the highway doing that stuff, I'm like, they're so like tough, because I could not do that. So I'm not as cool as, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
I got one crotch rocket story. So we got a buddy that works at the Ducati dealership up the road. And I was like, hey, dude, let me take the big new Ducati out for a spin. Because I've never ridden anything like that. He's like, all right, don't go far. So he trusted me to go out on this thing. So I take it out. And first off, so a Ducati, I don't remember the model because I don't know Ducati, but it was like their big, fast bike. And so Ducatis don't handle like Harleys. Like, you breathe in one direction, you're turning. It just, so I'm like, the whole time, I'm like overcompensating. But the big problem I had with this bike, brand new bike, was that I couldn't find neutral. And there was like a lot of traffic, and the clutch was really tight, and I just could not find neutral, because there's a trick, which I don't remember, he told me when I got back and kind of laughed at me because I didn't know the Ducati neutral trick. But yeah, so I took this bike out, and my hand was so cramped up from holding the clutches at lights, and then my the top of my foot was bruised trying to find neutral at every light, sitting in traffic. It was the worst, and I never want to get on another Ducati again. That's my story.
Yeah.
It was really uncomfortable. That's all.
I'll have to try one someday, but my cousin has some kind of cool fancy bike, but I don't know. Maybe he'll let me, but I looking at it, I'm like, that thing's too fast for me. I'm gonna die. Yeah.
The thing I remember the most about, and hopefully you guys can relate to this, but the thing I remember the most about first riding in traffic is in the summer when a car gets behind you and you feel the heat from the car like coming off on you, and you're like, you're close.
Like,
stop being so
get
close to me.
back.
You're like, I'm exposed. It's like, I don't know. That's how I felt when I was on it. I was like, I'd sit there and I'd be like, stop getting so close to me, man. I
Yeah.
need some room to like get
Yeah,
around.
I wish we could lane split, because that is also scary that people can ride up behind you. They're texting these days and stuff like that. It's like, that would suck, So it's kind of, we were just in California and like watching people, I was like, maybe it is better, cutting through the
Oh,
center.
it's better for sure.
Yeah, so and one day Illinois.
And I made one other mistake when having the motorcycle. I decided to go through a drive-through. And so I had no helmet on. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to hold this.
Yeah.
So I held it in my teeth.
Nice.
Oh,
I put it up in
good.
my teeth. The problem is you drool.
Oh yeah, so it's
And
like
so as I was
breaks.
getting to, I'm like, the bag is ripping. The bag is ripping.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm driving. I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm going to do. So somehow I made it back
God,
with
you have
the
better
fast food.
motorcycle stories than we do. Like, these are good ones. All right.
Yeah, I'm just glad
like
I'm
that
alive
story.
because I didn't do stupid stuff. I mean, I didn't do
Yeah.
terribly stupid things, but there's,
You weren't doing wheelies with like burnouts and like all the crazy stuff.
yeah, and there's some sort of statistic that's like if you are first riding within the first 6 months, you're like guaranteed to
Yeah,
be
it's
in
like
an
the
accident.
first year, and then it goes down every year, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Good. Oh, I'm glad that I like that. I didn't know that about you. I'm glad to know that you also rode motorcycles. Maybe we're gonna get you on one of those chill bikes and just like be like a chill Harley guy or something.
we'll do a podcast on bikes.
Yeah.
We'll mount it to the
Yeah.
No, but I was also curious about like the handling too, because obviously you'd mentioned about the sport bikes and how they
Yeah.
like. So I mean, is there drum braking? Is there like is it a little squishier? Is it harder with the bigger handles? Is it
A little bit. Like I said, I was riding that Ducati. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it definitely stopped. It's a lighter bike. I mean, my bike's a fairly heavy bike, so it definitely, it stops quicker, for sure. It's a definitely difference in handling. But once it is.
I'll tell you
it
what,
is.
I have a chopper with no front brake and a hardtail and like the most uncomfortable seat. And if I go like 70 and hit like a tiny little bump, I'm like in the air just hanging on with my two arms and like, yeah. So different bikes, it's kind of fun. And it's got like a Springer front end. So it's like, it feels like you're riding a clown bike. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like,
So it's kind of
yeah.
like it's kind of like the same as cars. So if you
Okay.
got like like one of the big Harleys, it's kind of like a Cadillac, right? It's comfortable. You can't make real tight turns or anything. But it's comfortable and it gets up and goes. As compared to a spark bike, less comfortable, can turn. So it's kind of the same way cars are. And then hers is her chopper's comparable to like
You go.
19,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know, 1970 Cutlass that the suspension hasn't been replaced since 1970. and
Or like my
holes in the
Chevy Nova.
floorboard
It's like the same as my Chevy Nova where it
Yeah.
just like wobbles around, and I like that. It's
steering
fun.
wheel loose.
Yeah,
you feel like you're gonna die.
but it's kind of fun. I like feeling like I'm gonna die a little bit.
and then this is getting a little bit too deep into motorcycles, but are any of the throttles, do they spring back or are they like open and
Once
stick?
again, yes, unless you're on one of Aga's bikes, typically, the throttle sticks.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically, yeah.
Because that was my uncle told me a story about he had like an old Kawasaki. He showed me like some picture from the 70s. He had an older
Yeah.
one, and he was like the throttle used to stay open, like you would twist it and it would, So if you didn't, if you lost control of it,
Right.
it would
You're just, like,
it would just
going.
keep going. Where now they with mine it was like spring back, so it would shut off. And
No, my Yamaha's pretty gnarly, but I like it. It's fun. It's like it's a good time. You never know what's gonna happen.
So you have I'm going to transition a little bit here, but you have worked in music.
Yeah.
And so with that, I guess I wanted to ask, how important is music in everything that you do, whether it's hair, like, you work for musicians,
Right.
but how important to both of you guys has music played a part in what you're doing, either with Bad Grease or, with that?
Well, it's funny because both of us are like technically in the music world. Like what Danny does for a living is also in the music world. It's funny how maybe because that is such a big part of our real job life, maybe we don't talk about music as much in Bad Grease.
Yeah, we try. Yeah, they really don't intermingle.
How do we
much
not?
at
Like, that's
all.
funny. It's funny. You know what? Earlier we were talking about how, like, certain jobs, it's like, well, that's your job and that's not. It's funny how with I never thought about it, so it's a good thing you brought up. But yeah, I guess we never really go into, like, the music part of it. And we do have so many friends in the music world and all the things. And yeah, like, they've support us or whatever. But at the same time, Bad Grease, I don't know how, but it didn't end up being, like, a big music type thing. I don't know. It's funny enough.
Well, music's tough right now, right? I mean,
Yeah, you know what, and that's kind of the thing. Maybe it is like, we like so much different kind of stuff, and like even from the things we work in, like I mean, I go from pop to like just about everything. Like, so it's kind of hard to find. I don't know. I think, and even what we listen
and
to.
you know what? And honestly, I think a lot of it too. It's so personal. Everyone's taste, music's real important to everyone. I think
Yeah.
the stuff we do, I think we don't get a lot of music involved because, man, people like even the guys on our team. I mean, there's guys that listen to punk rock, and there's guys that listen to hip hop, and then everything in between.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of in the same boat. We're into just about
Yeah.
everything, and I think. Music's real personal to people, and we don't want to like turn everyone off by like, hey, check out this.
Yeah.
I mean, we do shoot out some bands. We do a little bit of stuff, and some of our guys are involved in bands, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But yeah, I think in our regular lives, we just did it so much that like, we're.
I never
not that
thought about
exciting
it.
to us,
I'm glad
you
you
know?
said that. But yeah, so it is there, I guess, in some weird way. You can't almost disconnect it from both of us because we've been in the music world for so long. But I guess that's not something that this revolves around. But I do love, I love what you said about, like, it's hard because you can't really, like, corner it. I mean, I guess the brand's for everybody. So if you like any kind of music or if you like anything, I mean, we do have motorcycles and we do have, skateboards, but at the end of the day, it's even just the art. Like, I have friends that are just like, I love the art. And so you don't even have to be a biker or a skateboarder to wear our stuff or whatever. It's like we have all kinds of just random cool art that people did that are rad. So we can't even take credit for that. They're just awesome artists, and they
Yeah,
they
we're
want
just like an outlet for other awesome people.
yeah. Yeah.
We like really rad stuff and rad people, and we're just trying to like we're just like your buddy going, hey, look at all this rad stuff here. You should be checking out. It's really all we're doing. We're doing
No.
nothing. We're just
Yeah,
like,
we don't do anything. No, I think
passing it
yeah.
on,
No, but it is true. I have to say, Bad Grease would, be, we did start it, yes, but man, without all the awesome artists and everything, even just anybody, even like the shirt company. It's like Danny's friend is the one that print. So it's like every little detail is connected through somebody that we know that's also like an artist, like, and does.
Yeah, everyone work with this rad. I'd rather work with like a rad dude than like save some money going with just some faceless. I think it's all about relationships and just trying
Yeah.
to do rad stuff.
so talking about the art then, when you guys say talk to an artist, do you let them loose? And do you just say...
Yeah,
here-
we
here's-
try to.
yeah.
Often,
So,
yeah.
so tell me
Sometimes-
about that process, like the art, it's amazing, the art that's on the pieces. And so-
Typically, we just come across guys we like. I mean, some of the guys are well known that we know about, and other guys will just stumble across some artists and we're like, hey, check out this guy's stuff, and we'll be like, oh yeah, that's rad, let's hit him up.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the people we hit up is because we like their art. So unless we have to do something for like a specific project, like if we need to do like a flyer for a show or something like that. We typically, if we're just like, if it's a skateboard graphic or a shirt graphic or something, we just like the artist. We just say, hey man, do your thing. That's why we like you, because
Yeah.
you do what you do.
We let them they often will like look at our stuff and try to take from, we'll often even be like, don't even look at it, just do your thing.
right.
Because yeah, definitely people they look at the other art and they'll be like, oh, let's do this.
This
Like,
is what they
no,
like.
we
And we're
know
like,
you're trying
no.
to make us happy, but like make
Do
yourself happy.
yeah,
do, your
do
thing.
what
That's why
you
we like
love.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. We've done where we actually like, it seemed like more, they were just looking at other art being like, oh, this is what Bad Grease is. And we're like, no, Bad Grease is like all of everything different almost, you know, it's just a little bit of everything different. So all the artists, yeah, you can kind of look at the stuff and you're like, oh, that must be that guy or that must be that, you know. So it's kind of, it's cool. Yeah.
Now, how did you guys come across the skateboard team that you have?
So in general, I don't know.
It's like a mixture.
It's a
so
mix,
some of it is guys hitting us up, and a lot of people hit us up and be like, hey. So we get inundated with a lot of that. But you know, there's a few standout guys, and a lot of it is.
One of them, my best friend, actually, he's a barber and a skateboarder, and he's an incredible skateboarder. And my best friend works with him at so funny enough, in the hair world, like small Chicago world, my best friend works with this guy, and so she's like, hey, my best friend owns this, you know, skateboard biker company, like everybody check it out. And he's like, whoa, that's so cool. And then he's like,
His name is Evan. Hi, Evan.
Hi, Evan. So Evan. So yeah. So she's like, you gotta meet him. His name's Evan, and he's rad. And then it turns out he's like Danny's like, I don't know.
He's like the pseudo team captain.
Yeah, he is, and he does
dragging
all the
troops.
stuff.
He's
Yeah.
super rad dude. Super fortunate to like have him on the team.
Yeah, he does
He's,
so much for
goes
us.
above and beyond. So another one of those things in case for people that like we meet up that like we didn't know these people before we did, and they turned out to
Yeah.
be great people and part of, you know, we're like a big family. Like he does so much work for us just out of love for
Just
know,
for what
in
he
general.
does. Yeah, and it's you know, and it's kind of the beginning of it, but I think he wants to help. He loves skateboarding so much that he's like, this is my favorite thing in the world, and it's awesome. We're really lucky.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it. And you know, so he's found a few people and like, hey, you need to check out this guy. And you know, it's crazy just the skill level on some of these kids today.
Yeah.
There's this kid who started riding us from Felix in Milwaukee. He's 14 years old, and the stuff he's doing at 4, it's just
Yeah, and then Kyle,
just
like
insane.
all
Kyle,
these
yeah,
guys. Yeah, I mean,
God.
we could go on naming them all, but yeah,
just great, just great guys, and really fortunate that they're down to, you know, participate and do this with us. And you know, we're obviously a smaller company still at this point.
right, and they could be like, hey, we want to ride for like the biggest companies, you know, but I do feel like we have a little bit of a family environment with them. Like they're all buddies. It's cool. I'm glad that they
They
want
all
us
know
to-
we would bail them out of jail.
We would. Hell yeah. Wait, don't get locked up. Don't do it. Don't do it. We're just kidding. Or we don't. I'm a mother. I don't want you to.
So then, transitioning off of that, you came out with the pomade.
Yeah.
There was not really a transition there. I just went
I
straight
like
to
how you-
pomade.
don't
I was
lie to these
skateboarders,
people.
pomade. Let's go.
Yeah, so pomade, oh my god. Pomade was like insane. So originally, yeah, even the name Bad Grease sort of started with the idea that we're gonna have a pomade. So it was like, I was like, I want, let's have a name that kind of can be bikes, like everything. And grease is in motorcycles and cars and all the things we like.
Musicals? That's really
That's
the
actually,
secret.
guys,
I'm a
you got us.
huge John
Damn it.
Travolta fan.
Damn it, he did.
Love John Travolta. That's where it really.
Oh my god, that's so good. Yeah, so we were we liked the word grease, and we were going through other names, and of course, like in the beginning we said I wanted everything to be super proper, so having the .com was very important, or owning the name, you know, making sure we have all the everything to the name. And so we were going through and finding, you know, what we can have, and then we were like, we had all kinds of, I don't even remember.
Pomade. We're talking about pomade.
Sorry, but yeah, back to, but anyway, so yeah, so then it was like Bad Grease, you know, it was just like, it sounds good. So yeah, back to the pomade. So we started working on it right away, and I have been planning on making pomade for like a decade at this point. So I was like, it's time. I finally found my partner, the perfect person to do this with, and like, this is gonna be easy. I have help. And I was like, I'm awesome. I can do this. No, I'm not awesome. It was really hard.
So have you ever looked at like a bottle of, like a can of pomade and all the ingredients on it? It's kind of like look at a can of Coca-Cola and all the ingredients on that and be like, I'm going to make Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's how
kind of
pomade
like what
is.
which we didn't realize. That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah,
it's
so
like,
it was really, really hard.
You're not just going to figure that out.
No, so we went through all the stuff, and we were chemists and cooks and all that. You know, our neighbors probably think we like make meth, but we don't. We make pomade, and we finally did. And then once we finally got the formula for the OG pomade, we had to figure out the smell, which also was like so many headaches. Like literal, not just like, not a metaphor, like legit, we had headaches because we had to smell all the different smells, and then we finally did that, and then we needed to do the art, which we were like, easy breezy, we've done art for everything, like art's easy. No, it still took forever to do the art and figure out what we want to put on there, and but then finally we did it, stickers printed, do the thing, and it's officially done, which is great. So now we're working on like the stronghold, so that's the next baby.
So 3 years from now, maybe 4.
Yeah.
So would you say that's the well, talk to me about the actual doing, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who could say, I have an idea in my head.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of people, you mentioned it earlier about I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, but can you talk a little bit about the drive, talk a bit about what gets you over that hump of going, I have this great idea, and what's stopping you from just changing what's on Netflix to the next thing?
I have to say, I met my match, Danny right here. I was always the person that's like, all right, let's do this, everybody, come on. And I'm like, all these ideas, and I'm like, I dream big, and I'm like, I'm gonna do all the things. And then I met Danny, and I was like, I'm tired. You're just like, why do you keep going? Like, you don't stop. I was like, shit. Sorry, can we swear on the show?
Yes.
We're swearing. Shit. No, I was just like, so yeah, for me, actually, I'm pretty, I don't know, I think I'm kind of like, I like creating stuff. So for me, I'm always doing stuff. But yes, I still get stuck sometimes. But the good thing with having like your best friend, your partner, your other half be like with you, it's like when you're feeling a little bit like not in the mood or like I can't do this, you have the other person kind of dragging you up with you, and then when he's not feeling it, which is probably less than me because he's pretty amazing. Like,
I quit everything last night. At least once every 3 months. I quit everything. This is like real work. I quit.
He's like, this is a real job. Like, no, but I think for me, like, man, it's kind of rad to meet another crazy person like myself that wants to do all this stuff
Yeah, you
with
just
me.
gotta do it, I guess, is what it comes to, which is easier said than
That's
done.
so easy to say, but we are that person. We're like, screw
I
it.
think you need some sort of inspiration in life to do it. So since we started doing this, we've been doing this for going on almost
2 years.
almost 2 years now. And what I think is cool, I've had a couple of friends of mine that have started their own companies just because they've seen this, and it helped give them the motivation to be like, oh, okay, you can do it, I can do it. There's not, and I think it's just talking to other people, and I've talked to other people that have started companies, and I think that's a good thing, is to talk to them, because it's not easy, but as long as you have passion, it's something you really like, then you just do it. It's like anything else. I mean, I was in bands growing up, and it's very similar to that. There's a difference between the guys that stay in their basement and play some local shows compared to the guys that are like, all right, let's go. We got $50. Let's get in a van and drive around the country. And I think it's that same kind of thing that makes you do a company. You got to be the same guys that are willing to like get in the van with no money and just say, let's go for it. It's the same with the company. You never know. It's taking a chance. I mean, there's definitely ups and downs with this. There's definitely months where I'm like, oh, but this is great. And there's other months it's like, wow, I should have not spent so much money.
We do. You know what? But we both quit smoking. Like, there's a lot of things we did in our life to like help find the finances to do this, which I think, like, we have different hobbies, like motorcycle, but I think that's the other thing. It's not like we're made of money or something. You know what I mean? We're just like we're trying really hard, and we're making it work a little at a time. So it's we started with the 2 shirts. Now we have I don't know how many shirts, but like slowly and we did it, and I think not giving up, I guess, is like the other thing. We just like keep going and
Yeah, you just gotta take off, little bigger and bigger bites of everything, and it's scary when you do it, but eventually it catches up to it. So I think that's one thing we started to learn, not early on, but within like 6 to 8 months of doing it, is you take a little like leap of faith and maybe do something you're not real comfortable doing, and then you're like, oh, and then you stress out for a couple weeks, and you're like, oh, that turned out okay. Let's try to go a little bigger this time. And then you get terrified again. You're like, oh,
and
no.
you need a great web guy, which I know you are too, but one of his best
Another guy
friend-
that's way overworked. He should probably be making a giant salary.
he needs a
and-
we owe him like a house one day, like he's amazing, and we could not do this without him, actually. Like he's like, one day I'm gonna work for you guys. So
I mean, he does work for one day. We're gonna pay.
I mean, yeah, like he's like one day,
That's literally he's literally been like, he's texting me at 6 a.m. like, hey, I just finished all the stuff. I'm going to bed now, so don't bug me for 4 hours.
Yeah, he's the greatest. I try to bake him things, and I'm like, can we hang out with him, Danny? And yeah, he's one of the greatest humans.
And we
like,
won't ever say his name or
No.
tell you who he is, because no one will ever take him away from us.
Yes.
yeah, you guys can't have him. No, really, he's mysterious. He's mysterious. You guys will never know. Yeah, his name is Chris. He's amazing, and and he really, he helps us so much. We could not do this without him.
Well, and that's one of the things that's a reason too why it's great to talk to you guys too, because one of the things that I'm fascinated with personally is people who take the risk. People who are, it is scary. It is scary to go out there. It's scary to start it, and the people who kind of like face the fear and live in the fear and do that. That's something that's very brave and bold, and something that I'm just fascinated with. Few years ago now, I was on a shoot in Nashville, Talladega, and totally different state.
Yeah.
And I had a limo driver who was driving us back and forth to Talladega.
Yeah.
And he said to us, the thing that stuck with me the most out of what he said to me was, he goes, well, he's like, the fastest way to get it done is to get it done. And that it stuck with me ever since, because I was like, it's such a simple phrase, but it's so direct. And when you guys talk about like, this is something we just need to do, and to do and to do and to do, that's, I think, sometimes the hardest part. Somebody myself who has dreams and different things that I've thought of over the years and I've written down, and those things can't come to fruition unless you actually put it into action and do it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I admire about Bad Grease, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you guys today, was
Thank you.
because of your continual drive and continual forward momentum.
I have to say, it helps that we finish. That's a big thing, is actually we do like start and finish. So I don't know how I never thought about it till this moment. Like, I don't know how we managed to do that, because I have like severe ADD. So I don't know how we do it, but yeah, we do finish what we do, and even if we don't go back to something, I feel like we get it done, and then maybe we don't look back, or we change it or something, but we do finish the stuff we start.
Well, you take a look. One thing I think that inspires me on a daily basis when I'm driving around, and I look at stuff around me. I look at like, everyone's driving in their cars. They look at buildings they were built. There's companies you drive by every day. There's all this stuff. Someone did that. Someone started. Someone took a chance. I mean, every business you drive by, one guy was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this."
Jeez.
And then I look at, and there's so much of that around it, and it's like, there's no reason why any person can't do that, like, at all. And it's one of those things, like, we didn't start with a lot of money.
Yeah.
We started extremely small.
Yeah,
and just
we were gonna
worked
do
our
it
way
baby
up.
steps, like, and then we were like, let's just take bigger steps.
Yeah, but and I think that's the thing. And once you realize that, man, it's not gonna kill you. Like, even if it might be scary, like, it's not gonna kill you. Everything will be all right. Everything's always all right. You'll figure it out no matter what. Like, you just get it done. And I think that's the big thing, is just realizing, like, what's the worst that can happen.
Right. Yeah.
You
You
know, and I
lose
think
everything.
one-
You start from scratch,
Right, I mean-
and you start over. Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, I was living in another state and I had a job I didn't like, and then I realized, man, I hate where I live. I dislike my job, and then one day I quit. I had no job, I had no place to live, and I just, moved, and then I figured it out. And guess what? I found a new job. I found a place to live,
Yeah.
and within 6 months, I was back to like
Normal life. Yeah.
And
I
was
just
like,
was talking to somebody
man,
about
I'm
this.
so glad I did. It was the scariest thing I did in my life. Like I did, I'm like, I can't believe I did this. I'm like, what am I thinking? But
But maybe that's the thing. If you've lost everything at one point, and then you can always start over.
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
You can figure it's not, and that's the thing. As
Yeah.
long as you have drive and you're willing to, do it. Like there's nothing stopping anyone from doing anything except for themselves. They're saying they can't do it or they feel like they can't do it. You just gotta do it. Like the end. I know it's easy to say, but yeah, that's all they're. That's
So
all
for all
there's
you
to
people that want to start companies just like Bad Grease, don't do it. I'm just kidding.
So, all right. At this point, I go, where can people find you?
All right, so our website is badgrease.com. We are on Instagram at badgrease and then at badgreaseladies for the girl department. We are where else are we?
We're on Facebook.
We're on Facebook. We have Bad Grease and Bad Grease Ladies on Facebook, so feel
We're
free
on
to
Twitter. I don't know
find
how
us
that
there.
works yet, though.
Yeah, well, Twitter's just poor
I
Twitter.
refuse to learn how to use Twitter.
So Twitter's just kind of like we just like repost stuff on there. But if you're on there a lot, then you might not be on Instagram a lot, and you might see the stuff there that we post. Yeah. So we're on Twitter at Bad Grease, and then yeah, and also there's like an invite for that show we're doing, so you can find that, and it's called the Greasiest Motorcycle Show. And so if you want to look that up on Facebook and say you're coming, that works too.
And then, is there anything you can leak? Any new products? Any new anything? Or you want to tease?
Yeah, yes, there's a new product. We actually, one of our great friends, Ken Carvajal, he is, well, that's a new product, but we did put it out there, I guess. But we are doing skateboards of his pictures.
Yeah, look, cool. He's a great photographer. Does a lot of the bike lifestyle stuff. Definitely check out his Instagram for just some amazing photos. The guys.
He's incredible. And so we're printing like his picture on skateboards of motorcycles. So he's a motorcycle photographer. Well, he does all kinds of stuff. He's just an incredible photographer, but also a lot of really great pictures of motorcycles. So we're going to be printing his prints, and we'll be at Mama Tried, and we'll be selling them there, and then we're also going to sell them at our show in March. So yeah, and he's definitely somebody you should check out too.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being on my podcast. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the last thing I'll ask, because I teased this in my last podcast, was, would you guys sign my deck
Of
for me?
course. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
We would love to.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I had a really good time making this podcast. It was great to sit down and talk with Aga and Danny about Bad Grease Ladies, and all the stuff that they have coming up. If you are in the Chicago area, or if you're not, doesn't matter. On March 25th is the Greasiest Motorcycle Show in Lombard. You can check out the Bad Grease Facebook page and get all the information on that event. It's going to be awesome. There'll be some rad bikes there, and you might learn a little something, as I did during this podcast. So in the next few weeks or so, I'm going to have some cool podcasts coming up. I'm not going to talk too much about them yet because I want to just get them in the can first and then release them to the wild, as it were. But I'm really excited about one that's coming up because we're going to talk about some of the 80s and 90s horror movies with somebody who's an enthusiast that I know, because I'm a huge fan of those movies that I kind of grew up on them. I rented all the VHS tapes, and my brother and I watched them all. So I'm excited to sit down and talk about that coming up. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk soon.